So for basics, I'll go over this because I think most everyone here has experience, but every introduction to basic genealogical methods tells you to begin with yourself and what you know first. We're going to start and touch on this real quick. I think it's a great way to rethink about some of the items in your home if you're first thinking about yourself, right? So take a minute and think about all the stuff that you've accumulated about yourself for items that are in the house. So while I know where my birth certificate is at my parents' house, I also know that they have some photographs of me being brought home from the hospital and all the family members holding me for the first time. I know that there's a Bible that has a little transcription in it for when I was confirmed into our home church. I have my various different degrees from education, and that can tell you where I went to school. But if you look at my high school yearbook, it tells you more about my personal interests and the clubs I joined. And my senior yearbook will tell you that my class voted me the most musically talented female. This would also, these college degrees would jump you to an alumna magazine that would show some articles for when I went to Italy to study Renaissance art abroad. You might also, the next issue would show you a spotlight of myself and my classmate Alyssa when we ended up working together at the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum in Manhattan. And what's interesting is because of how census records and all that works, I was an independent contractor and I didn't change my address. So if a future researcher is looking at me, that might be the only thing that tells you that I moved for 5 months. At home, you'll find some of the paintings or drawings from my college studio courses and pottery work mixed in. So that might tell you that when you see a person moving to another state, maybe I'll look for them in the art scene. Maybe they submitted something to a gallery or they took classes somewhere. The idea is when you think about yourself and tracking yourself through your home sources, to start analyzing how those home sources could read for these more ancestral items. Does that make sense? So your home sources, they carry information, but like my diplomas and birth certificates, they'll also carry a lot of inspiration for you to look in other places. And that's what we're talking about today. So here's a pile of home sources from my parents' house. And we're moving into the boxes, drawers, tubs, or closets in the home that have all the good stuff and why we're here today. Here's a snapshot of a few items from my parents' house. This seems like a simple cross-section of the type of things that we might find in people's homes, right? We have some older photos, a certificate of birth, a newspaper clipping of a marriage announcement, a mailed wedding invitation, a funeral card, and a few books of family history. Looking at the small pile, a pile of my family, I might not know where or how to start first. Both sides of my maternal and paternal families are represented in this small pile. And various family groups within each of those lines as well. But I need to start somewhere. So I pick one and I write down the information into a research log, which we'll talk about, and we move on to the next thing. So sometimes it's easier with your home sources to not think about how to organize where to start and just start at the top of a pile, write everything down and keep moving. Just make sure that you're organized with it. So you start a box, stay methodical, and approach it in a way that you don't repeat the same items or you don't skip over items. Then once you've completed the box or the pile, move on to the next family house. And if sometimes you can do this with family members, it might be really great to invite your sister over. You can share a great meal. You can work on these piles together. So before diving into gathering and analyzing all your home sources, we need to take a moment to talk about how important it is to log all of this. and make sure that you're writing down where you found it, what it is, what date you found it, what date this probably came from, who's all included, and any other extra notes. A lot of us in the professional world, especially when it comes to home sources, we're really bad about citing these things, and it's really important that we do.